Everyone will experience pain at some point in their life. However, suffering is a choice. Today, we're going to talk about stop suffering. Don't let your pain become a lifelong suffering. Okay? And we continue our meditation in the book of Joel. And today's topic is drink and live. The beasts of the field also cry out to you, for the water brooks are dried up, and fire has devoured the open pastures. Okay, so it's clear here that the animals in the times of Joel, the cattle, they were dying, they were suffering, not because they wanted to suffer. They were suffering because of the mismanagement of the farmers, of the people, of the land. So because of the disobedience of the people that turned away from God, so there was drought, and the plantation was destroyed. There was no water, and the animals started to suffer by force, not by choice. And sometimes in life, we can suffer by force because of pain that we carry in our life. In this case, I'm thinking about children. Children that grow up and they're very little, so they don't make choices for themselves. And they are forced by circumstances to go through pain. If you have grown up in a home with domestic violence, or if you witnessed abuse, any form of abuse as a child, so that must have been terrifying. And you didn't have control over the situation because you couldn't run away from home. This kind of pain that is inflicted upon us happens by force. However, as we look at the animals, they were suffering because they had no other choice. They were under the care of the farmers. So they needed the people to turn to God in order for the rain to return. But today, we are talking about stop suffering. Because if you carry a pain in your life today, it's not like the animals in the times of the book of Joel. Because we can change our situation, we can change our tomorrow, we can change our condition. We're not stuck and placed in a box forever. Because we have the answer, we have the solution, we can go to the Word of God, we can obey the Word of God. We don't need someone else to obey the Word of God on our behalf. So we can change the course of our life and thereby changing our destiny. Whoever is thirsty for the water of life, whoever is thirsty for the Word of God, they have access to the Word of God. And even if you don't have a physical Bible, today you can have a Bible on a digital platform absolutely for free. Even from the church, we have an application that you can access absolutely for free, which is the Bible online, for you to drink from that water. And that water will bring you the freedom that you need. So, pain is unavoidable, but suffering is a choice. You don't need to suffer forever. If you want to change your life, then you need to drink from the right source. And the Word of God is here. The Word of God that calms the storm, the Word of God that washes away the guilt, the Word of God that restores, the Word of God that builds bridges towards God, and also bridges in a relationship. No matter what has happened in the life of the person, it can be fixed and resolved through the Word of God.
You can see that some people, they think it's a small thing. They are not doing anything so bad in life. They are good people. Again, we go back to what we spoke yesterday. They are good people, and they consider a small thing not to listen to the word of God. But look at how much of a consequence the people they suffered in all areas, family wise, health wise, financial wise, even the animals, they were suffering just because the people, they considered a small thing to listen to the not to listen to the word of God. But the same way that when they start to obey the word of God, everything else starts to fall into the right place. Some people, they think, there's so many things I need to change. Don't focus on the many things you have to change. You have to be aware of that, okay? That's why we even told you to make a list, right?
Yeah.
However, you have to understand that things are not going to change overnight. It will be a process, a progress, okay? So you start to obey a small thing today, tomorrow you add on another small thing, and as you see, you are already, your life has already totally changed, and also the results will be very evident. It will be clear, and everybody will see the fruit of your obedience to God, all in all areas of your life, starting within yourself.
Yeah, and if you think about the animals that were suffering, they were suffering because of the decision of the human beings that were there taking care of them. Imagine one decision of one person made in a wrong way is like a domino effect affecting many other people under their care or people that are related or linked to them. On the other hand, one good decision, the right decision made by one person, also brings a domino effect, but in a good way, bringing restoration, reconciliation, prosperity. In short, by the people turning back to God, they would not only bring restoration to themselves, but also restoration to the animals and to the land.
And we recently had the earthquake there in the Philippines, where buildings, they just collapsed, and other buildings didn't collapse. Now, what was the difference between one building and the other? Because they were on the same soil, they had the same magnitude of earthquake, but the difference was that one was done carefully designed. It was follow the rules, follow all safety rules, the planning, the materials, everything was done according to safety regulations. But the other buildings that collapse, they were done, without the safety regulations. So people just decided to cut corners here, cut corners there, thinking now we must build this quickly. And okay, it was built quicker, but at what cost? At the cost of lives, at the financial cost. But if when you build the house following all the regulations, you don't have this problem. Maybe the process is a bit longer. You don't see results quickly. Maybe there is a lot of bureaucracy, documentation and all that. But in the long run is a win-win situation. And it's the same thing when we obey the word of God. It's a slow process, but it's a sure process. It seems like it's going to take forever, but it's everlasting, right? The blessing of the Lord does not bring sorrow. So which one do you want? And then you need to start taking the steps you want.
These weekends, today it's Sunday, we have the Sunday of I Am Thirsty with the Lord's Supper, and it's not too late for you to attend because 11 o'clock in the morning we will have our English service, and 10:30 we still have our Chinese meeting. As we speak, we have meetings going on here at the Universal Church in Hong Kong. You can scan the QR code for our details and for you to find your way here. Now, this is an invitation for you that is thirsty for righteousness, thirsty for salvation, thirsty for mercy, thirsty for forgiveness, maybe thirsty because you made one decision that was wrong and you have regrets and you want to be restored. So that's an opportunity for you to find restoration. Perhaps you need direction and guidance to build your life on solid foundation. The Word of God will be open to you. And if you're thirsty to drink from the Word of God, the Word of God will quench your thirst. And you will receive a direction for you and your family, for you to make new beginnings. Okay? Establish your life on the Word of God, and you can be sure when there are earthquakes, meaning trials and tribulations in life, you will not be shaken, you will not be moved. Okay? Very well. So these are the times this morning. You can call us for further information. Thank you for tuning in. Join us again tomorrow. Bye-bye.
God bless.
After we lost our son, lost our store, and were humiliated, I said, enough. We are not going to lose anything else. I was working at a company, and my wife was. I said, honey, what do you want to work with? Let's open a clothing store. Let's do it. We rented a shop, a small shop. And with the little money that I had, I made the shelves myself. I made the counter myself, the fitting room. The first customer who came said to us, "Are you closing down?" Because we had so few clothes, there were 2 or 3 little mannequins, something, well, no, today is the first day. A business consulting company came and analyzed our business, and he made it very clear, you are not going to last. There was no cash reserve, according to the survey. There was no reserve fund. There was no cash flow. And because of the merchandise we had, he said, look, according to the numbers and our understanding, you are not going to move forward. And my wife, in that situation, she called me, honey, it's not going to work. It's not going to work because there are so few clothes. I said, honey, calm down. We are tithers. God will prosper us because we brought God into our project. So when he turned his back, I looked at my wife and said, he is talking nonsense. He doesn't know who God is. He doesn't know who we have as our ally. And in this, our faithfulness continued. First fruits, honoring God, always treating our first fruits to God as a priority, above everything. And time went by. God gave us a car. Then we started to have a little more money. And at that time, everything was fine. Family. We traveled. We went out. We always prioritized God. Since we work in the clothing business, we had trips. Our clothes were good. My daughters wore newly released clothes. We were invited to participate in fashion shows. Everything was fine. Family, financial life, professional life. Until we started looking at the things we never had. We started looking at what we wanted, not what God wanted. We started prioritizing our own will. We started prioritizing things like saying, let's go to a steakhouse on a Wednesday. So it wasn't right to have that kind of thinking. The priority was God, and yet we go. Many times she didn't want to. But I would say, no, let's go. It's not only church, we go on Sunday and that's it. So we started missing services. We started failing to prioritize God. And then I even started having arguments with my wife, because she would call me to church. Let's go to church. No. We'll go in the afternoon. Let's go eat some shrimp at the beach. And in the afternoon, we'll eat and come back. We'll go to church. And we wouldn't go. And we were so lost. Lost that in my mind, I already knew that since I was no longer prioritizing God, I had to look for an alternative to have security. I hired an alarm system for the store, an alarm company whose office was only 3 streets behind their headquarters. And in the middle of all this, there was the first robbery at our store. The first robbery was one that caused a lot of devastation. But the second robbery was a complete looting. And during that complete looting, the alarm didn't go off. The thing in which I had placed my security, a renowned security company with the latest alarm systems, failed. We went through hardships. Hardships like going to the supermarket to buy 3 eggs. The market only sells full cartons, right? Yet we would buy 3 eggs. Buying pork because it is cheaper. So these were lower grade cuts of meat and pork, which is much cheaper than beef. And in the death of faith, the real death of faith, you have no way out. You cannot even speak to God. You don't have the courage to speak to God, because I was in the wrong, having left God behind. This was a point of great suffering, until I reached the point where I had to say the following: enough. That's enough. We need to return to God. When I returned to church, I returned with only one conviction. Now, I am not just going to give the tithe, I am going to give myself to God. My surrender was complete. I started praying again. I started prioritizing the Word of God again, the will of God. My own self was no longer there. In fact, there is only God before me. So because of this, and from that moment on, everything was restored. God took care of me, of my surrender, and through my surrender, today my family is blessed. Today we have a blessed business. Today I am a businessman. My wife is a businesswoman. Our children work with us. Today, what I am to God is much more important than what I place on the altar, because I honor God with my life. My surrender to God is what brings me peace and the certainty that God is with me.
Has Sunday become just another day in your week? A time to sleep in, catch up on chores, or simply zone out? Many Christians find themselves falling into this routine, forgetting the true meaning of Sunday, the Lord's Day. But there's a way to transform your Sundays, a way to make them truly special. The Bible instructs us to set aside one day a week for God in honor of the day Jesus Christ rose from the dead. By prioritizing God on Sundays, countless lives have been transformed. It's a chance to give Him the first place in your life and watch amazing things unfold. This Sunday, take the first step. Prepare yourself and attend an empowerment meeting at the UCKG Help Center. Sundays at 7 a.m. in Tagalog, 10:30 a.m. in Chinese, and 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. in English. Don't let another Sunday pass you by. Make it the Lord's Day. Find your encounter with God.